And hello, one and all, and welcome to my live review for Monday Night Raw. We're going to take a look at everything that took place on the July 18th, 2016 edition of Raw from Providence, Rhode Island. There were a number of huge announcements made on this show. Overall, I thought it was a noteworthy show. While it did have some faults, overall, I enjoyed the show mostly from start to finish. And by the end of the show, I will give you my grade for it. But without further ado, we had, going into this Raw, two things that I was really looking forward to. The WWE title match between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, which delivered, and we'll get into that later in the review, and the reveal of the general managers of both Raw and SmackDown by Shane and Stephanie. So that's how we kick things off on tonight's edition of Raw from Providence, Rhode Island. Shane and Stephanie made their way to the ring. Stephanie would make her announcement first, and she revealed that Mick Foley, Mrs. Foley's baby boy, is coming home to Monday Night Raw. He's the new general manager of Raw. I didn't think it was going to be Mick Foley. My worst fear was going to be, oh, they're going to bring Triple H back, and then we're going to get the Authority every single week with 20-minute long promos that'll bore us to death. But no, it was a nice surprise to see Mick Foley there. And another announcement that was made in the opening promo was that Stephanie said that the Cruiserweight division will be returning to Monday Night Raw exclusively. I like this. This is something that I called for several weeks ago. I was like, if they're going to insist on keeping Raw 3 hours every week, 3 hours, you're going to have to give it a little bit extra content compared to SmackDown, with SmackDown only being a 2-hour show. If you want to fill 3 hours with half the roster, a good way of doing that, I said, was bringing back the Cruiserweight division. And sure enough, they're bringing back the Cruiserweight division exclusively at Raw. Couldn't be happier for that. But Stephanie made her announcement. She was like, she went to Shane, can you top that? And Shane most certainly did. He brought out a man of the people, one of my favorite wrestlers, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was named the general manager of SmackDown, and it had been rumored for the past week. It was still great to hear the announcement being made. The crowd went nuts. They chanted, "Thank you, Daniel." Yes, yes, yes. I was going nuts. I mean, it was a great moment to see Daniel Bryan back on WWE TV since his retirement in February of this year. He was ecstatic to be there. You could tell he was overwhelmed by the crowd reaction. He took it all in. Brian said he loves wrestling, and if it wasn't for you, you helped him just as much as he was able to make it without the crowd support. His WrestleMania 30 moment, he talked about beating Triple H, winning the title, and how he's an underdog, and how SmackDown is the underdog in the fight against Raw. And he said he's beaten the Authority, he's beaten Triple H, Stephanie, the whole mentality, the whole thing, and he's gonna help take SmackDown to the next level and one up Raw. So I really like the level of competition that they're playing off against one another, Raw versus SmackDown. I really hope that they are able to raise the bar and elevate SmackDown, because in just recent years it's become pointless to watch. But I feel with the draft coming up, hopefully the importance of SmackDown can be reestablished. I love the addition of Shane as the COO and Daniel Bryan, as the commissioner, and Daniel Bryan is the GM of SmackDown. I think that's smart. I'm already excited to see what they do tomorrow night on the draft. But this was a great opening segment of Raw. The crowd was into it. I was into it. And from here, the really nice line that Shane said at the end of this was, he said to Steph that no matter what, she will always be his little sister, and she had to marry a WWE superstar to stay relevant. So a nice shot taken there if they ever want to do the Shane McMahon Triple H feud. But this was great stuff, and I really like the dynamic that played off of Daniel Bryan and Mick Foley later on in tonight. We got some nice backstage promo segment between them trying to one-up one another. And I think that competition will be great for both brands. So moving on later into the show, the next, our first match of the evening was a solid match. It was Sami Zayn and Cesaro versus Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Really liked the tension that played off in this match with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. You could just see the animosity building towards their quote unquote what could be final match for a good while at Battleground. Really looking forward to that match on the card. But this was good stuff in here. Jericho being the workhorse veteran, Owens and Zayn wanting to just rip each other apart, and then you had Cesaro. He was on fire in this match. He was hitting uppercut after uppercut, taking people to Uppercut City. It was just good stuff all around. It's a shame that Cesaro doesn't have a match on the Battleground card, but I really think that he will be one guy that you could draft either to a Raw or to a SmackDown and really establish and build your brand around Cesaro. So this was a good match, good way to highlight all the guys involved. The match eventually came down to when Jericho attempted to roll up Zayn, but he was able to reverse it into a pinning combination for a 3 count. So it was nice also to see Sami Zayn get the pinfall or the roll up on the pinfall on Chris Jericho. So Zayn and Cesaro are your winners in this. It was a solid tag team match, I'd have to say. After this match, we had Darren Young, who was in singles competition for the first time in a long, long time with Bob Backlund in his corner. He was able to defeat Alberto Del Rio in fairly quick time. The Miz tried to get into his face, but Darren Young was luckily able to avoid the Miz. He tried to take a shot at him, but he missed. Del Rio tried to go for the schoolboy, but the referee was distracted from the Miz, and this was led to Del Rio getting up in the Miz's face, and Young was able to roll up Del Rio from behind and get the roll-up win. So it was nice to see Darren Young get the win here. I was worried they were going to have him lose to Del Rio. He is heading into Battleground this Sunday, facing The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know. Well, I'll get into that in my Battleground card predictions and preview video. But we'll see what they do with Darren Young heading into Sunday and with the draft. But nice little win for him over Del Rio. What more can you say from this? We then had John Cena, his music hit, and they had a really nice in-ring promo between him, Enzo, and Big Cass. I really liked the confrontation, the way that Enzo and Cass and Cena played off one another, heading into their 6-man tag team match against the Club this Sunday. However, tonight on Raw, we had a huge 12-man tag team match that I thought was really solid. They gave it plenty of time. It was Enzo and Cass, Cena, the New Day taking on the Wyatt family and the Club. We had Cass and Enzo talking about, their match this Sunday against the Club and how they're pretty much just going to, unite and take down the Club. Eventually, the New Day would come out to the ring. They were all having fun. It was a fun segment. I really enjoyed it. The New Day with their comedy antics, everybody having a good time, chanting New Day rocks, and then the Club would come out, and then eventually the Wyatts would interrupt, and we would have our huge 12-man tag team match. So I really like the way that they set this up going into it, putting the spotlight on Enzo and Cass, eventually having the New Day come out, the Club comes out and interrupts the New Day and all their fun, and then finally you end it with the Wyatt family. And then what I really liked in this match, this 12-man tag match, was the confrontation between Big Cass and Braun Strowman. Because at first it was Enzo going up against Braun Strowman, and he realized there's no way that I'm going to be able to take down this giant. So he tags in Big Cass, and, match was going along at a pretty good pace. And then what I really liked also was towards the end of the match, when all chaos broke loose. I mean, there were guys fighting on the outside, and then I was worried that the ref might call for the bell, but that wasn't the case. They were eventually able to get control of the match, and then just some good near fall, some good action towards the end. The Club took turns beating down John Cena. And, eventually, I believe Kofi Kingston was able to get a tag. And then towards the end of the match, Enzo hit a nice diving DDT off the top rope onto Anderson. The New Day and the Wyatt family battle their way up the ramp, so it highlights and keeps the feud going between them. And then it looks like Styles is going to set Enzo up for the Styles clash. Enzo was able to reverse out of it, but accidentally collided with Cena. This allowed Styles to successfully hit the Styles clash on Enzo, and the Wyatt family and the Club get the win. So I really liked how they kept the element of miscommunication between Enzo and Cena. It makes you wonder at Battleground, will they be able to get everything down pat? Will they be able to communicate correctly and stand tall at the end of the night against the club? It's one of the matches I'm most certainly looking forward to on the Battleground card. And like I said, I'll get into that, my predictions and preview later on this week for Battleground. But this was a good match, definitely a highlight of the show tonight. We then move on to our next match. It was, let's see here. We had a backstage segment, Shane and Mick Foley talking with one another. Here we go. We had Baron Corbin taking on Sin Cara. Very quick match. Corbin made quick work of Sin Cara. At the end of the day, is 1, 2, 3. Corbin's your winner. Afterwards, Kalisto comes out, tries to help his partner, his fallen partner, but Corbin laid a sneak attack to the back of the head of Kalisto and laid him out as well. So not sure what they're doing with. Well, we know the Lucha Dragons are split up. They're going into the draft as separate draftees. You can draft either Sin Cara or Kalisto to both Raw or SmackDown, respectively. And Baron Corbin, I think he will be a good pick in the draft wherever he lands, Raw or SmackDown. I really felt like they haven't done anything with him since his feud was his long drawn out feud with Dolph Ziggler came to an end. So I think he will be another beneficiary of the WWE draft, and wherever he goes to, I can see bigger and better things for him because I have always been a fan of Baron Corbin since his days on NXT. I see the big potential in him as a top heel eventually in the long run. You can give him a run with either the U.S. or IC title. I think he would be a perfect candidate for that role. So I'm hoping that bigger and better things are on the horizon for Baron Corbin. We will have to see tomorrow night on the draft. We had Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch teaming up to take on Charlotte and Dana Brooke. Match really didn't last that long. Natalia would come out and sneak attack Becky Lynch and lay her out, and then eventually this would lead to the disqualification being called. And after the match, Charlotte and Dana Brooke beat down Sasha Banks, and both Sasha and Becky Lynch were laid out. It was all right segment. The match itself really didn't really go that long, so I found it odd that they did announce that at Battleground they were going to have Sasha team up with a mystery partner against Dana Brooke and Charlotte, and then here on Raw we have Sasha teaming up with Becky versus Dana and Charlotte. But the match didn't last long, like I said, and it'll be really interesting to see who Charlotte picks at Battleground who Sasha picks at Battleground for her partner. I'm hoping it's Bayley. I'm hoping we could see Bayley drafted on Tuesday, and then she could be Sasha's partner on Sunday. So we'll have to wait and see. But fingers crossed for Bayley to be Sasha's partner. But like I said, it could be Naomi, it could be Paige. We'll have to wait and see. We had Sheamus and Rusev versus Dolph Ziggler and Zack Ryder. Didn't really care too much for this match. Crowd really wasn't too into it either. Rusev and Sheamus are your winners after Rusev is able to lock in the accolade on Ziggler for the win. And then we have this really good backstage promo segment between Bryan and Foley, both talking about how they're similar to one another, how they're both different, and how they want to bring out that competition within one another. And I really enjoyed this segment, and I'm looking forward to seeing where both Bryan and Foley as characters are able to take the Raw and SmackDown brands respectively. I love the choices of them as GMs. It brings a fresh approach to both shows. So I can only see good things ahead for both Raw and SmackDown. And then after this segment, we finally arrive onto our main event match. This match was for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. It was Dean Ambrose defending his title against Seth Rollins in what I thought was a very good main event match. It wasn't the best match that I've seen these two had. I've seen them have far better. I thought the match started off a little slow, but it certainly picked up towards the end. These two went all out with the clothesline attempts, diving through the ropes, the frog splashes, pedigree attempts. This match was going really good. And on the outside, you had Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, Mick Foley, and Stephanie McMahon. So I knew some type of screwy, weird finish was going to happen. But I thought Rollins was going to walk out with the championship. So the match is going pretty good. too many commercial breaks. So, but that's a whole nother issue for another video. But towards the end of the match, we have it was just a weird the way the match ended. It was just weird because we have Ambrose and Rollins are battling back. There were some nice power bomb attempts hit here, and then the ref Ambrose shoved Rollins off the top rope, and it hit the Rollins hit the referee. So I'm thinking, oh no, is that going to lead to a simple disqualification? I mean, the ref got hit, and I didn't know if that would affect the match that much. But then the match kept going, and then we move on later towards the end of the match, and it was just really confusing, the situation of how the match ended, and basically it ended with, well, Ambrose was trying to, let me see here, counter with another pedigree, and he had a jackknife for another near fall. He had a signature clothesline, and then Rollins, like I said, gets pushed, knocked down to the referee, and Rollins runs up the ropes and hits a superplex, and both men hold each other's legs, and they are counted down for the 3 count. We have no idea what the hell's going on. Everybody's like, that's it, that's the finish. And, there's no announcement. The ref's just sitting there in the corner of the ring. And then Stephanie gets on the mic and says, your new WWE champion is Seth Rollins. That's how we go off the air. However, there was a further airing on the WWE network afterwards. The cameras kept rolling. And pretty much Lillian announced that the ref, he wanted to see a replay of the finish, and the ref tells Lillian that Ambrose is still the champion since both men had their shoulders down for the count. This certainly leads to a bit of controversy, a lot of controversy, actually, heading into SmackDown tomorrow live. Will we see 2 world titles? That's been the rumor for a while now. I certainly think so, seeing as how things played out tonight on Raw with the confusing finish. I could see Shane announcing the creation of a SmackDown championship, and then we have a Raw championship. But we'll have to wait and see how things played out. Wasn't really too big of a fan of that ending. But overall, I thought there were a number of positives on Raw tonight. There were some not so good segments, but if I had to give a grade for tonight's show, I'd give it a C+. It was a solid C+ show tonight. A little bit below. There were a couple segments that hurt it, in my opinion, for me to give it a B, but I still enjoyed it enough to give it a C+. So that's my rating for Raw tonight. Guys, I want to say thank you for all who tuned in. I appreciate your views. Remember, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of Raw tonight. What are you looking most forward to tomorrow on the WWE Draft SmackDown Live? And of course, stay tuned here tomorrow at 10 p.m. after the draft for my full thoughts and opinions. I'll be bringing a special guest on, my friend Sam Fisher. It'll be great to have him back on the channel. It's been a long time coming, but we will be here to give you our full thoughts and opinions on everything that took place on the WWE Draft tomorrow. So it's going to be a huge night in wrestling. Cannot wait. So yeah, that's my Raw review, guys. I'll see you tomorrow night for my live SmackDown review. Until then, guys, peace.